Hey everybody, Melissa Sorrentino here. I guess I'll call this part of my Making Progress playlist because it's actually sort of a few thoughts that are coming together from me on the docks and from Divorce Diary, and also from just the concept of like the behind the scenes of creating a vlog and exposing myself in this way. So yesterday I was Mimi working, doing my gondolier thing. And I had a lot of couples yesterday for some strange reason. It just seemed like a lot of couples today, or last night, and anniversaries over this weekend. So I had a boat and it had two young people in it, and they were just young and in love and la la la, and they were celebrating their first anniversary. So at one point, it was like towards the end of the ride, and I was singing to them, and I asked them, did they want to hear something a little bit more fun and lively to kind of like set them off for the rest of the day with a little more energy, or do they want something like really like romantic and schmaltzy? And they chose romantic and schmaltzy. So while I was singing, I was thinking a little bit about the lyrics, and I looked at them, and they were just looking at each other, and they were so in love, but it occurred to me also they were so young. And for a moment, I decided, I actually made a conscious choice, and this is something that speaks to performers. I had a moment where I was like, instead of letting this be, I'm at my job, I'm performing, I'm, trying to get a tip, any of those types of things, I just decided in that moment to go ahead and start to visualize some things and let the emotions come out during the singing. But I had to stop myself because my voice started to kind of cut out because I started actually crying. But I just had a moment where I visualized, my ex and I. And it wasn't a specific memory. It was just what we looked like and what we must have looked like even when I was 30 and we took our gondola ride over at the Venetian. The two of us did together. I wanted that for my birthday on my 30th, so that was what we did, and I never thought I'd move to Vegas. I never thought I'd become a gondolier. I never thought I'd be divorced. And then I was thinking about like another boat that I had earlier that evening. I had a boat. It was two couples. Just for point of interest, the two across from me were from France, and the two in front of me were from, Chicago. And the two in front of me were two girls, and they had just gotten married that morning. And the two across from us were French, and they spoke almost no English, but it was like a normal, traditional, conventional looking, like very like kind of conservatively dressed white couple from France, and they spoke almost no English, but we were able to sort of like cobble together that they had been married for 2 months, and that this was their honeymoon, and their honeymoon was including a lot of travel. So anyway, that's just incidental. But then like another point later, I had another couple, and they were like, two of them had been married very briefly, and the other two had been married for like 7 years. So at some point during that ride, the contrast between the couples having been married very briefly versus a longer time, the newer couple asked the other couple, "What's your secret?" And then the other couple told them something about, you should always talk through things rather than keep them to yourself, was what came up. That comes up a lot, actually. And specifically, it's often the men saying those things, and I'm like, geez, that's advice that like I wish an older man had given to my ex, because that was one of our issues, at least from my point of view, was that I really wanted to talk and like dig, and he thought I was digging where there was nothing to dig for. And I was like, well, obviously there's something going on. I have woman's intuition, so I would try to like get to the kernel of what was wrong. So the avoidance of that is very kind of typical, like male behavior, to be like, no, I don't want to talk about anything, I'm sure it'll just resolve itself. But then that stuff compounds. So that piece of advice I think is really wise. So anyway, But in the bird's eye view of me standing on the back of this boat, and these people are like down here, and them asking them for the secret. And in my mind, you know, I'm playing my character, I'm being me, I'm cracking jokes and doing whatever, and being romantic and just flipping little like channels between my performance of the little boat ride for them, and creating like an experience that's enjoyable for something that people have paid money for. So I'm actually giving a product. It's a service, but it's a product, of memories for them to take home with them. And so I'm standing there, but like the Melissa in me, inside of Mimi, is observing this, and I'm thinking, like, I just had a moment. This isn't something I've ever thought of before, but I thought, wow, a new couple could have asked Ben and I our secret at 7 years. They could have asked us our secret at 14 years. They could have asked our secret at just a smidge short of the 20 years that we were together. And we could have looked at ourselves in the mirror and been like, what's my secret? And then I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, if somebody wanted to be a gondolier, they could turn to me and ask what was my secret, because, I am a gondolier now. At any point we can look at somebody and say, wow, you just won an Oscar. What's the secret to getting an Oscar? And they might know the secret to getting an Oscar, but they don't know the secret to keeping themselves in the optimum place 24/7 of being a person that at any moment an Oscar is going to appear, or the prize that says your marriage worked, or your career path worked, or whatever you're doing worked. So really all we ever have is this moment in time. And in this moment in time, in this imperfect world and this imperfect life that we live in, there is no moment where all the categories are perfect. So let me just take this for a second, and we'll just put a smidge of improv sophisticate in here for scene work. When you're in an improv scene, there is going to be any moment where you could take a snapshot of that scene. You could lift one cell from that film reel and look at it and examine it, and not everything's going to be perfect. You might be having the wonderful emotional connection with your partner, and everything's like awesome, and the visuals have been created for all the space work and the location, and maybe you're even heightening some bit, and a big laugh is about to come, but the laugh maybe hasn't come at that moment. But then when the laugh comes, maybe something else gets dropped, or you know what I mean? It's just people talk about it like juggling balls, but it isn't even juggling balls. Because you don't have to juggle all the balls. You just have to hold the one ball that you're holding. There's no guarantee that nobody can stop you, take a picture and say, that guy's juggling 10 balls. He's not. Maybe he's holding one ball. The other 9 are in position, but any of them, a gust of wind could come and all 9 balls, and the very next shot is a guy holding the ball and 9 more on the floor. So we don't know. All we can do is be true to this moment. And I don't know whether or not even any of this made sense, but I'm being true to this moment, and in this moment, I'm signing off. Talk to you guys later. Bye.